Honorable Dr. Wanamina Bostan Ali from ASEAN Youth Organization, Prince Songkhla University, Thailand. Honorable Salter Youth from ASEAN Youth Organization, NWG, Cambodia. Honorable Abhishek Fats from ASEAN Youth Organization, India. Honorable Mutiara Ika Pratiwi from Perempuan Mahardika. Honorable speakers from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Honorable Vice Chancellor for Human Resources and Cooperation, Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Dr. Iyad Vedas Tugu. Honorable Director of International Office UKI, Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Dr. Lisa Gracia Kailola, and all participants, please pay attention to the rules. 1. All participants have to join this webinar from the beginning until the end to get the certificate. There will be a committee who check and update the participants' attendance. 2. All of the participants are suggested to silence the microphone by pressing the mute button on your devices along the session from the speakers and turn on the camera if possible. 3. If there are some questions along the sessions of the speakers, you are able to write down your questions in the chat box and please introduce your name and institution. We will discuss the questions in the session. 4. All participants are suggested to be active in Q&A session by raising your hand and to ask direct questions. Please introduce your name and institution and turn on your camera as well as your microphone. 5. Please turn off your camera if you are doing personal activities along the session from the speakers. Hello and good morning, and welcome to the webinar Equality for Women. Is it still worth fighting for? My name is Adiranto Hia, and I am the Master of Ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, to get things started, we are pleased to invite Ma'am Susan Hasituhang, SSMA, to deliver opening remarks. Ma'am Susan Hasituhang, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Am I audible? Is my voice clear? Jawaban.
Yes, clear, ma'am.
Okay, so welcome to this webinar celebrating International Women's Day on March 8th. So International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day is chosen to celebrate women all around the world. I believe this is the first time ever that Universitas Kristen Indonesia take part and celebrates this important day. And we start by holding a webinar titled Equality for Women. Is it still worth fighting for? This is a question that we should always think about. This webinar aims to enlighten the young minds of Universitas Kristen Indonesia, the students, pointing out to them about the problems that still exist in this modern world, despite the struggle to achieve equality between women and men. This is an effort by Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa to continuously remind and alert young generations that the fight is not over. It is far from over. Injustice experienced by women is still around. Discrimination is everywhere. Let us not forget that. Never. We should not ever stop fighting. We should start with small efforts like this one, and we should start and never stop. Choose to challenge. That is the theme of this year's International Women's Day. Choose to challenge whatever injustice that we see around us. I am sure this year's celebration is not the last. It is only the beginning. And I am very happy that you have decided to join us. So equality for women, it is still worth fighting for. Thank you for participating and may you be enlightened. May the force be with you. Thank you. Going back to MC.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Susan, for the opening remarks. Now, we would like to invite all participants to open the camera. We would like to do the photo session together. Please open the camera. We are still waiting. So we would like to take a picture in 3, 2, 1. Maybe one more time. Please raise your hand like this. Like this. Okay, we would like to take a picture in 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. We have now come to the main agenda of our webinar, presentation from all the speakers we are waiting for. The first session, we will hear presentations delivered by our speakers from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. This session will be moderated by Ms. Catherine Monica. Ms. Catherine Monica is an English literature major. Catherine Monica is a fresh graduate from Faculty of Letters and Language, Universitas Kristen Indonesia, batch 2016. She is currently having her internship at Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Being 20, she has currently already made one of the biggest achievements of her life. She had her experience on Sea Teacher batch 8 in Chiang Rai, Thailand, with 3 of Universitas Kristen Indonesia delegations. After completing her internship on Biro Humas and Pemasaran, also the organization of Senat Mahasiswa Fakultas Sastra 2019 till 2020. She finished her study with her scriptsy, in which she focused on female spirit from one of Langley's book, Love Looks Pretty on You. Those experiences inspire her to learn and develop herself and also to inspire others to achieve dreams as human beings. She hopes that she will bring the same dedication to her work with the spirit of woman, especially being a fresh graduate and achieve greater success in her future life. Ms. Catherine Monica, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Adi, for great explanation for my bio note. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, participants. Today, I will moderate this session. And first of all, I want to read a bio note from our best speaker from UKI, Ma'am Susan and Miss Bene. The first one, the bio note from Ma'am Susan. Can committee show the PPT of, okay, thank you. The first one speaker is Ma'am Susan Ahasitoang, SSMA. Ma'am Susan, she is currently the Dean, Faculty of Letters and Language, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She majored in English Language and Literature Teaching from Ateneo de Manila, University of the Philippines. Her interests include issues in identity and multiculturalism, feminism and existentialism, and other issues in English language and literature teaching. Okay, the second one is about Miss Benedicta. Benedicta Stella Fortuny is graduated from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She majored in English Literature, Faculty of Letters and Language. Benedicta is the head of International Mobility and Hospitality Department, International Office, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She is also active as a writer in various collective media for women empowerment. In 2018 and 2019, Benedicta was elected as Indonesia Youth Activist representing Indonesia in Asian Youth Academy or Asian Theology Forum in the Philippines and Thailand. And welcome for our best speaker, Ma'am Susan and Miss Bene. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for the introduction. So for the host, is it possible to make me as the co-host so that I can share the screen?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. The presentation is titled Equality for Women. Is it still worth fighting for? Next, please. Can I? Also? Yeah. So this presentation is a showcase of UKI's students' perception and understanding of women's movement and gender equality. So in equality for women, this is a question because nowadays we take it for granted that women and men are equal. So we would like to know whether our understanding of women's movement and gender equality has matched the initial purpose. So we need to check, or we need to find out what students or young people of UKI think about women's movement and gender equality. So what exactly do they understand of the terms? And how do they apply it? So have they considered that women and men are equal? Next, please. So we distribute a questionnaire to 100 students living in a dorm or asrama, Yap Tian Hin, here in UKI. So they come from different parts of the world. So we decided to start with 100 students. The respondents consist of 63 females and 37 males. So this is not really equal. But then for a tryout, we accept because this will show something. So the students come from different parts of Indonesia. 46% is from Pulau Kalimantan. 35% is from Sumatra, and 19% is from Kepulauan Nusa Tenggara. They take different study programs. There are 33 study programs in UKI. We have mathematics majors, physics, English lit, and so on. So, and then most of the students or the respondents come from the 4th and the 6th semester. 8% of them are in the 8th semester. Okay, next. So we will present to you first the results. These are the questions and the results. So we ask them about what they think about who is responsible for household activity. What about colors? Is there a specific color for women or for men? And then, is it okay for men to wear skincare? So this seems to be not so or not significant question, but I believe this will reflect what they think about equality. So here is the answer. As you can see, they consider all these things can be done by both men and women. So household activity, cooking, sweeping, and so on. And then the color pink, most of them still, however, 64% still answer that pink is the color of women. However, there is that 36% that say it is also okay for men to wear pink. That you can contrast that with number 4. Number 4, the color blue. So the color blue is for both women and men. And then this is interesting also, skincare. So it is okay now for men to wear makeup or to clean their face, to have facial treatment and so on. This shows a shift, I think, yeah, from the opinions of the past. Next, please. Okay. Now, we move on. So there are questions about majors or study programs and professions. This is, of course, related to the study programs they choose. Now, in the past, fashion and literature in Indonesia, they are considered majors for women. So, as I can state, in Fakultas Sastra and Bahasa, more women take literature. Okay, but however, the questionnaire shows that number A, so 95% agree that men can also take literature. 52%, number 7, thinks that fashion is also okay for men. And let's look at number 6 there. The majority of the respondents still answered that engineering is for men. But then the difference is very slight. Okay. Professions, lawyers for both men and women, teachers for both men and women. So there is that shift. In the past, teachers are for women, lawyers are for men. Okay, thank you. Next. Okay, secretaries. This is also surprising because 64% of the respondents say that being a secretary or a man becoming a secretary, it's okay. However, I don't know, in the practice, I still find that most secretaries are women. Okay. But then we need to pay attention to number 13, having good education. So good education is for both women and men. This is a shift because in the past, education is only for men. Having high salary is for both men and women. However, showing emotion, number 16, with that slight difference of 10%, show that crying is for female, not male. So nobody answered, yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, okay. So slight difference. Next. Now, leadership and taking initiatives. So these are assumptions based on the answers the respondents give. Women can now lead and take initiatives, for example, in relationships. Yeah, that is for question 19. So in Indonesia, I don't know, I think also in other cultures in the world, women are not allowed to confess their feelings. Yes. However, this answer show that it is now considered okay for women to express their feelings first to men in in a love relationship. So women can be the active part or partner. Now, and then, however, this may look like a positive promise or answer. However, we still need to keep in mind that the number of respondents are not really equal. So there could be, this is only the opinion of the 67 female anyway. Yeah. So results may not be conclusive. So we think that further research is required. Okay. Now, the final question for this part, apakah di lingkungan kamu sudah tercipta gender, or is gender equality already exists in your environment? 57% answered yes, and 43% answered not yet. So this is also interesting. So some people think it's not gender equality is not present yet, but then there is also people who think it's already in the society. Again, more research should be conducted. Thank you. My partner, Benedicta Stella, will continue the presentation.
Thank you, Ma'am Susan, for giving the background of the context of our questionnaire. By the way, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess it's fine. So continuing our questionnaire to the 100 participants of UKI students in dormitory, we also asked the questions for descriptive method. Actually, there are 3 questions. The first one, whether or not they understand about the definition of gender. And from 100 answers, there are 10 interesting answers that we gathered. I'm so sorry because I put the answers in original language, in Indonesian language, but I will try to translate the points. So the first one is there are still students clarifying gender as a sex. Jadi gender adalah jenis kelamin. And then some students also saying that when we talk about gender, it means sex, and it means we talk about the level or position in women and men. And then gender is rooted since we were born, and it is related to the characteristic or actions. And then when we talk about gender, it also describes identity, the principle of life, and it talks about the equality between men and women. The interesting part also, there are students saying that gender means that person have dual personalities. And another one saying that gender is about the roles, the actions, the expression, and the identities. So pointing out in the first answers, there are still many students. I believe they are not only in UKI, but maybe also in other cultures and other countries, describing gender as sex. So let me show you the explanation behind the answers. So I hope that actually 100 participants or respondents from our questionnaire also attend this webinar so that I can share what we already gathered from the preliminary questionnaire. So when we talk about gender and sex, we talk about the basic first. To understand the gender equality as our theme or our main theme for the webinar, we have to stick to the basic, right? So understanding the basic concept between gender and sex is very pivotal. to get the clear definition. When we talk about gender, according to this picture, the Lancet, actually, when we talk about gender, it's culturally defined. It is rooted in our societies even since we were born. When we talk about gender, we talk about female, there are also roles and responsibility. Usually, female are identic dengan caring, service jobs. Women are fragile, emotional. Kalau in Indonesian language, usually we know the term baper ya, lebih mudah baper. So it is very attached to women personality. And then the highlight points is dependence, especially when we talk about financial dependence in the families, in the society. And then when we talk about male, definition of gender itself, it's also culturally defined. Like we have certain roles and responsibilities between female and male. Like we are also known male as the risk takers, as dominant, as leaders, and have financial autonomy. They're independent rather than women dependent. So we talk about the gender first, and then we talk about the sex in the next my presentation. So we come to the definition. Actually, gender is the roles and responsibilities of men and women that are created in our families, our societies, and cultures. When we talk about gender, the highlight points is the expectations. So it's a social construction. Society put expectations based on our sex. For example, like in gender context, we are familiar with the concept of femininity and masculinity. I will explain it later. And when we talk about gender roles and expectation, actually, it is all learned. And they can change over time, and they vary within and between cultures. So take a look at this picture. In this part, I stated in Indonesian language to get more convenient to others, to Indonesian students or UKI students. So from the basic concept or basic understanding, the students might wondering like, so jadi beda nggak ya gender dan jenis kelamin, benar beda atau sama? So let's find out. In the concept of society, we are assigned, for example, as women, the representative color usually is pink. It means that we have feminine aspects. Like we're not aggressive, we're dependent, we're easily influenced, we're submissive, we're passive. Usually women are home-oriented, easily hurt emotionally, like I told you before, baper, indecisive, talkative, and gentle, lemah lembut. Meanwhile, when we talk about male, masculine concept, male are aggressive, male are independent, not easily influenced, they are dominant, active. They are not allowed to show the emotional, to express their emotional. Decisive, not at all talkative and tough. So these are the social construction in the society between feminine and masculine concept. So well, actually, after reading the answers from the students regarding the definition of gender, they say gender is sex, gender adalah jenis kelamin, which is not true because we talk about gender, we talk about social construction, and it can be changed over the years. So I don't even really surprised. So take a look at this. So for our international participants, this is like official Indonesian language dictionary, originally from Ministry of Education and Culture from Republic of Indonesia. So in Indonesian language itself, the definition of gender is sex. So there are, I found it like there's still big misunderstanding, misconception in the society, in a big society, regarding the definition of gender and sex. So when we want to talk about feminism movement, when we want to talk about gender equality in today's society, if we are not back again to the basic, to the concept of definition gender and sex, we cannot fully understand or comprehend meaning. That's why we want to take you, the participants, to identify the basic concept between gender and sex. So it's all about the gender. Now we talk about the sex. So sex is biological, right? It means that all of the biological things in men and women, like we were born, for example, women, we have a vagina, men, they have penis, and all the biological stuffs. What makes men and women are different? Actually, it's not about gender role. It's about the biological things. For example, like only women who can have menstruation, like who can breastfeed because they have puting susu. When we talk about men, they don't have. So, and then also giving a birth, even though in very, very special case we have ever read maybe in the articles that men can give birth, but it's very, very rare case. So it's about the sex, the definition of sex, the biological aspects. So, and then after that,
It's been 15 minutes left. Thank you.
okay, thank you. So, and then after we ask about the gender concept, the gender and sex concept in our students' mind, we next question is we ask about the definition of feminism itself. So to understand the basic concept first, and then after that, what they know about feminism, and then after that, we ask them about the gender equality itself. So the connection is there so that we understand the way of their thinking. So the feminism itself, there are 5 interesting questions gathered from 100 respondents. There are still many students misunderstood regarding the feminism and femininity. So many of them saying that feminism is means to be gentle and meek. It is the definition of femininity. So there is still a misunderstanding regarding feminism and femininity in students' perception. Meanwhile, there are also students saying that when we talk about feminism, it's a series of social movements, political movement, and ideologies that have the same goal, namely to define, develop, and achieve gender equality from the political, economical, personal, and even social spheres. So it's a very comprehend answer. They're also saying that when we talk about feminism, we talk about an attempt by a woman to be in the same position with men. And then again, there is still misunderstanding saying that we talk about feminism, we talk about a feminine trait. And then the last is feminism is a movement in which there is a struggle for women. So many interesting answers gathered from the participants regarding the basic understanding of feminism. So when we talk about understanding feminism, it means we have to understand gender equality, because the goal of feminism is not especially for women. Feminism leads to the humanism. Feminism is a movement for the minorities. So we talk about gender equality. It means we talk about the freedom to choose. There is no limitation. The highlight point of the feminism is we ask for the same access. So there are many misconceptions in today's world, especially for the millennials who love using Twitter, for communications in Indonesia or Jakarta case, there are many hatred comments regarding the feminist nowadays. And even there are many misconceptions from the men or the women declared themselves as the feminists. The key or the highlighted point when we talk about feminism and gender equality is the same access. Same access is important because we believe that men and women can achieve anything. They have the same freedom to choose and there is no limitation. And when we talk about feminism, actually there are still many big misunderstandings when society specialists feminists as only for women. No, actually for understanding feminism, we need men as allies because women need men in order to achieve gender equality. When we want to achieve gender equality means we have to smash the patriarchy. But when we talk about the patriarchy, there is the disadvantages are not only for women, but also for men. So we need men as allies, meaning that when we talk about feminism, it is about the inclusivity, not exclusivity. Like no one leaves behind. We gather all people for the sake of inclusivity. And then setara, bukan lebih, meaning that same access, bukan sesuatu yang lebih. And then the next point is feminism is against discrimination. And no matter what gender your gender is, you can be a feminist because feminist world is not only specialized for women. The highlight point also when we talk about feminism, meaning that we have to educate girls because in status quo, says, women are considered as second-class society. It means that when we talk about girls, the first gate to make them empowered is to make them dare to have dreams. If they are there to have dreams, it means that they can explore themselves better and they believe they can do whatever they want. Okay, so when we talk about feminism against discrimination and problems, there are many points here at work, sexual violence and all. I will skip this because my time is limited. Okay, so this is the goal. It's not like the goal. The last questions we asked to the respondents, talking about whether or not in your dormitory, in your environment, has gender equality been achieved or not? Well, actually, there are many various answers, but these are 4 points that we highlight. For example, like still there is opinion saying that men are leaders, like they can do more rather than women. And then when we talk about men and women, actually they should dress according to one's assigned gender. Like if you're a woman, you cannot be allowed to have short hair or boyish look or whatever, and then vice versa. And then the third one is actually very contradictory, saying that women and men can solve the problems together. I see that there is gender equality in my environment, and then after that, like women and men have the same rights to have education and have the same access, have the same opportunity to live in dormitory. So we talk about specific issues in dormitory. One issue is about the leadership in dormitory between the students. So,
Miss Bene, 5 minutes left. Thank you.
Okay. Regarding the issue of leadership in students, UKI students in dormitory, actually, I will point out 2 interesting answers. One female in the 6th semester of our students saying that actually, when we talk about being the leader or the captain of the dorm, ketua asrama ya, both men and women can try to become the captain of the dorm to lead. And then after that, but when we talk about this perspective to the men, saying that Yes, agree. Both men and women can try to become the captain of the dorm to lead. There is no kind of kayak semacam larangan ya. But the fact is women are afraid of being leaders. The showing case in Asrama Uki, the status quo is actually starting from the household chores. Actually, both women and men are given the same responsibility in domestic chores in the dorm, and both women and men are given the opportunity to lead. But however, the women are reluctant or hesitant to become a leader. So maybe the participants can help us to answer in the chat box why it happened. Because I already explained about the concept of gender itself when women actually are assigned not to be a leader. That's why we need feminism in order to educate girls. At least dare to have to dream. So it means that after that, we can achieve what we call as gender equality. So we really go into the basic concept to understand, to give understanding to the students how actually these big issues such as gender equality can be achieved by understanding the basic concept of gender and sex, understanding the feminism or the goal of feminism, which is the same access for both women and men. And then after that, we can achieve something big regarding the gender equality. So these are the conclusions. We go first with Ma'am Suzanne.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. Now, so after all the explanation, we conclude that this questionnaire is a very raw research project. The questions, they are only the beginning. So it's a preliminary inquiry. It takes more and more research. The question, for example, the question do not cover all aspects of women's movement, gender equality, etc. Because when we are talking about gender equality, we talk about the whole aspects or issues in the world. Women or feminism exists in environment issues, health issues, law, and so on and so forth. So the results do not necessarily mean that the respondents have a solid opinion regarding gender equality. As mentioned by Bene, they seem to have a misunderstanding. This is because, maybe, because there is still lack of education or enlightenment in terms of explaining to them what it means to be a woman or a man. So, what is the difference between gender and sex? There. And then, as mentioned earlier, there is a problem with the number of the respondents. There are only 37 males and 63 females. So we were thinking maybe in the future, there should be a questionnaire surveying the perception of male students of UKI, or a survey on the perception of female students only regarding gender equality and feminism and all that entails. And then after that, we can compare what the results say to find out if really or actually there is a firm understanding of gender equality and women's movement. So, going back to the title of the presentation, we conclude that equality for women is still worth fighting for. So we cannot take for granted that students of UKI, which means students of Indonesia, already have a rigid understanding of women's movements and gender equality. So with that, we end our presentation. Thank you. Going back to Miss Catherine.
Thank you, Ma'am Susan and Miss Bini for this session because this is very informative for the participants about gender equality. Is it right? Okay, let's move on to the next session. We have question and answer on our chat box. First one is from Danilo Pastorfilde. Is it enough to base that because the man is already doing female chores such as housework and also using cosmetics, there is equality? And then from Mr. Sanjaya, make ideas and agree for this presentation. This is correct. And to support the equality, we need the supports from all elements, women and men, government and academician, academian,
Nggak cukup.
and family and all.
Nggak udah.
Okay, maybe Ma'am Susan or Miss Bene will answer for the question in the chat box.
Thank you, Mr. Pastor Fide. Is that the right word? Oh, okay. So your comment is or question: is it enough to base that because the man is already doing female chores such as housework and also using cosmetics, there is equality? Of course not. Of course not. So that is not really a sign. But then it shows there is a shift, no matter how small. So in Indonesia, wearing a makeup for a man is a big no-no in the past. But now, if you go to a mall in Indonesia, a store selling cosmetics, you will see that the attendant is a male wearing full makeup. So it is a shift. And then now people are beginning to see that or to take that as normal. In the past, it's called banci. Or are you from the Philippines, sir? Bakla. So they call it bakla. Is that the right term? So feminine men. Yeah.
Yes,
But now it is acceptable. So although people will look at them strangely, awkward situation, but then they are not judged harshly. So if you go to, but maybe this is only in big cities. That also should be investigated more. Thank you. And then Miss Bene, can you comment on the next from Mr. J. Sanjaya?
So I read here from Sanjaya Mulya stated that this is correct. To support the equality, we need supports from all elements, women and men, government, academician, family, and all. Yeah. So that's why understanding feminism is not exclusively for women. Women or men are welcome to understand the feminism because when we talk about the goal for feminism is humanism. So feminism is a part of movement for the minorities. So when we want to smash the patriarchy, when we want to make the gender equality, the same access for both men and women, we need men. Women need men are allies. So in celebrating International Women's Day today, or maybe yesterday as the momentum, we ask for the men's participation in order to achieve gender equality, because celebrating International Women's Day is a part of our human obligation. It's a part of our human obligation to end the discrimination against women, against men, and against human all over the world. I think that's all for my comment.
Okay, thank you, Miss Bene and Ma'am Susan. It's very informative session, right? Okay, let me summarize from academician, Ma'am Susan and Miss Bene for this session. I point out about the terms. First of all, we have to know the terms about sex and gender. It's all about the biological and social construction. Okay, and the second one, from the questionnaire, The result is 57% agree about gender equality and exists in their society, And there, equality example, we as women have to confess the feelings, and then we have to work and salary, and then we are able to choose the education. Is my voice clearly? Okay. And from Miss Bene, we know about the feminism. Feminism is about the movement. And then we as a woman, we have to educate our friends as a girls to point out about the dreams and achieve dreams as a woman. And then the last one, as UKI students, we have to point out about the Yaptiem Yen, the result of questionnaire. They are being a leader as both of women and men. And this is the equality about this presentation. The next, we can read about, okay, one more question from Rachel. Oh, sorry. From Ma'am Imelda Sianipar. I have question for Ma'am Susan and Miss Bene regarding to improve gender awareness at UKI. Is there an effort from university to put gender issue as a part of compulsory course? Because I think if we want to start gender awareness from UKI, it would be very important for every faculty, not only for letter or social politics, to have that kind of course. Okay, Ms. Susan or Ms. Wendy, have comments for Ma'am Imelda. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is my voice audible? Now, the question is in UKI, again, in UKI, let me check. Is there an effort? Yes, however, I don't think that the effort is enough. No, there is not yet a compulsory course regarding gender awareness in UKI, which I believe should be the next goal if we want to improve the condition or the way of thinking of the students. Because, yes, true, it's only for Fakultas Sastra and maybe social politics majors. I'm not sure. It has to come from the top, or maybe the department leaders can also think about. So maybe we should enlighten first the leaders in the university. Miss Benny, do you have something to say about this?
Thank you, Ma'am Imelda. Okay, so maybe very short answers. When we talk the gender awareness especially in our university at UKI, from what I learned, actually some of the leaders, especially women leaders at our university, are aware about this context, this gender issues. Some of women leaders also concerned about how to have gender mainstreaming subjects to the courses. So we hope that every talk that the Faculty of Letters and Language, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, or other faculties regarding the gender issues, we need to support that, because talking about the education, it means that the gender mainstreaming subjects has to be there in order to get students' understanding regarding the courses. I think that's all. Back to the moderator. Yeah, because we have already finished the time.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Susan and Miss Bene. The last one is about the social awareness at UKI. Okay, it's about equality and social awareness. Okay, unfortunately, the time is limited, and there are several questions from Ma'am Lisa, Ma'am Nurhayati, Rachel, a student from UKI. Maybe we can answer in the next session, or we can answer on the next opportunity because the time is limited. Thank you for participants, and this is very attractive session. I hope you have learned and enjoyed from this presentation, and please stay here on our Zoom webinar because there will be other speakers with their amazing presentations. So happy International Women's Day. My name is Catherine as moderator. Sign out. Thank you. Back to Adi as MC.
Thank you very much for the moderator and the speakers from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. We welcome Honorable Founder of ASEAN Youth Organization, Sanjaya Mulia. We are now continuing to the second session. There will be two speakers from Perempuan Mahardika and ASEAN Youth Organization, Prince Songkhla University, Thailand. This session will be moderated by Ma'am Susan Ahasitohang, SSMA. Ma'am Susan is the Dean, Faculty of Letters and Languages, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She majored in English language and literature teaching from Ateneo de Manila University, the Philippines. Her interests include issues in identity and multiculturalism, feminism, existentialism, and other issues in English language and literature teaching. Ma'am Susan, the floor is yours.
Yes. Okay. Is my voice audible? Now, I'm going to introduce the next two speakers. First, we have Mutiara Ika Pratiwi from Perempuan Mahardika. Perempuan Mahardika is an organization striving to participate in women's independence from all forms of violence and discrimination, from oppressive cultures and poverty. Ms. Mutiara Ika Pratiwi is the National Secretary of Perempuan Mahardika. She has produced several publications that are mostly on sexual harassment. So in 2007, she published a study on sexual harassment and denied maternal rights towards garment workers. And then she is also advocating women on zero harassment, working at KBN Cakung Industrial Area. So the next speaker, we have Dr. Nana. Can you change the, okay, Dr. Nana from, okay. Here we have Dr. Rowana Mina Boston, or Dr. Nana. She completed her doctorate degree from Victoria University, Melbourne, Australia. She is a university lecturer focusing on teaching strategic management, organizational management, and leadership. Her interest is in management and leadership. Her expertise include team building, communication, interpersonal, and leadership skills. Without further ado, we will start the next session with Ms. Mutiara Ika Pratiwi. The floor is yours.
Hello. I hope my voice is clear. Thanks for the opportunity Non Susan's giving to me. But for the audience and for all, I will start to speak with Bahasa, but my presentation will be in English. I hope that's okay. Ya, jadi terima kasih untuk kesempatannya kepada Bapak Ibu dan teman-teman semua yang hadir dalam International Webinar Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa Universitas Kristen Indonesia kali ini. Dan saya diminta untuk memberikan sebuah presentasi yang menjawab tentang equality for women, is it still worth to fighting for? Terdapat beberapa pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang sangat rigid yang diberikan oleh teman-teman panitia. Dan yang pertama adalah tentang what is the women's movement itself? Apa itu pergerakan perempuan? Jadi secara singkatnya, definisi pergerakan perempuan itu adalah sebuah perkumpulan dari para perempuan itu sendiri yang kemudian membangun sebuah kekuatan kolektif dan juga kepemimpinan karena ketersaling hubungan atau keterkaitan pengalaman ketidakadilan yang kemudian mereka alami bersama. Dan bagaimana untuk menjabarkannya secara lebih lengkap, saya akan mencoba mengambil pokok-pokok pikirannya yang adalah 3 ini. Yang pertama adalah keterkaitan pengalaman ketidakadilan. Jadi sebuah perkumpulan disebut sebagai pergerakan ketika ini membawa bersama perempuan dari dan berangkat dari pengalamannya menjadi perempuan, karena tadi kita bicara soal konstruksi gender ya, seseorang tidak dilahirkan sebagai perempuan, tapi menjadi perempuan. Itu salah satu quote dari Simone de Beauvoir yang cukup terkenal. Jadi pengalaman-pengalaman ketidakadilan yang mereka alami ketika menjadi perempuan inilah yang kemudian dipersatukan, dihubungkan. Gitu. Jadi para perempuan inilah yang kemudian menjadi penggerak dari pergerakan itu sendiri, dari pergerakan untuk mencapai perubahan itu sendiri. Mereka adalah kuncinya. Kemudian, kenapa disebut sebagai sebuah pergerakan? Karena ada share agenda for change. Jadi, sebuah diskusi bersama, agenda bersama untuk perubahan. Orientasi perubahan ini penting, karena kemudian dia memberikan arah terhadap sebuah perkumpulan itu sendiri. Terdapat analisa bersama, diskusi bersama, mengangkat apa makna dari berbagai pengalaman ketidakadilan yang dialami oleh banyak perempuan. Membicarakan akar persoalan sampai atau hingga pada visi, tujuan, dan bagaimana perubahan itu sendiri terkait dengan strategi. Sebuah pergerakan, biasanya mereka akan memiliki sebuah political agenda, sebuah agenda politik. Dan untuk memperjelas saja bahwa yang dimaksud dengan politik di sini bukanlah seperti partai politik atau pemilihan umum gitu ya, yang sering kita dengar seringnya begitu. Tapi politik di sini mengacu pada makna yang sebenarnya, yaitu bagaimana changing. Tema Hari Perempuan Internasional kita ini ya, choose to challenge. Jadi menantang struktur kekuasaan. Kemudian yang ketiga itu adalah collective action. Disebut sebagai pergerakan ketika ada aksi kolektif. Jadi ini adalah wajah dari pergerakan. Kenapa dia disebut sebagai pergerakan? Dia akan di permukaan dia akan terlihat dari aksi kolektif yang dilakukan. Gitu. Seringkali kita terimajinasi ya, atau ketika saya ngobrol dengan banyak teman, ketika kita membicarakan aksi kolektif itu yang terbayang apa? Jadi ada long march, protes, rally, begitu ya. Tapi sebenarnya maknanya juga tidak terbatas pada hal-hal tersebut. Ada advokasi, ada advokasi, ada kampanye sosial media, ada pendidikan publik, dan sebagainya. Dan ketika kita bicara soal pergerakan perempuan, itu seringkali sangat rigid terhadap upaya perubahan perilaku. Misalnya, bagaimana sih memperkenalkan tentang kesadaran menghargai perempuan kepada anak laki-laki sejak dini. Itu pun disebut sebagai sebuah aksi kolektif. Pertanyaan yang kedua adalah, is there still a need for a women's movement di abad ke-21 ini? Jadi, maaf. Jadi ini pertanyaan yang bagi saya sangat mendalam begitu ya. Dan untuk menjawab pertanyaan ini, saya akan mencoba berangkat dari pernyataan yang memang sudah dirumuskan oleh Perempuan Mahardika baru saja dalam peringatan Hari Perempuan Internasional 8 Maret kemarin. Ada satu sikap yang kemudian kami rumuskan bahwa di tengah pandemi, karena kita bicara situasi konteks abad 21 dan saya pikir penting sekali untuk mengangkat konteks hari ini ya, ketika di seluruh dunia kita terdampak oleh situasi pandemi COVID-19. Di tengah situasi pandemi, kesehatan dan keselamatan perempuan di tempat kerja tidak dijamin. Jadi memang Perempuan Mahardika adalah organisasi yang memiliki fokus besar terhadap isu kesetaraan, terutama di tempat kerja. Kenapa kemudian kami melihat ada situasi yang sangat urgent di masa pandemi terkait dengan isu kesetaraan itu sendiri. Jadi setiap perempuan kami yakin adalah pekerja. Itu juga sebuah slogan dari banyak pergerakan feminis bahwa setiap perempuan adalah pekerja, baik mereka yang bekerja dalam ranah domestik atau dalam ranah produksi. Selama masa pandemi, pekerjaan perempuan ini menjadi sangat double ya, bahkan bisa dibilang dilakukan secara bersamaan, gitu. Setiap perempuan, mayoritas perempuan dia harus melakukan hal-hal baik domestik maupun juga pekerjaan di waktu yang sama, di tempat yang sama, yaitu di rumah. Karena di tengah situasi pandemi, kebijakan kita adalah work from home ya. Dan semuanya itu pekerjaan domestic work itu juga sangat rentan dengan kekerasan dan hilangnya atau senjangnya gitu ya perlindungan yang maksimal terhadap kesehatan para perempuan pekerja ini. Beberapa hal yang ingin saya angkat, ada tiga poin di sini. Yang pertama adalah dalam lapangan pekerjaan, perempuan itu ditempatkan, mayoritas perempuan itu berada dalam lapangan pekerjaan yang upahnya rendah. Kemudian juga sistem pekerjaannya tidak baik. Jaminan kesehatannya juga sangat sering dihilangkan. Mahardika memberikan merumuskan sebuah penelitian terkait dengan kesehatan hak maternitas, dan kami banyak sekali menemukan bagaimana pengabaian hak maternitas, hak kesehatan reproduksi ini sangat banyak di tempat kerja. Kemudian juga penuh dengan atau rentan dengan pelecehan seksual. Sektor-sektor yang saya sebut tadi yang mencerminkan bagaimana lapangan-lapangan pekerjaan yang dihuni oleh perempuan dan rentan jaminan keselamatan itu misalnya adalah sektor garment. Kemudian juga pekerja rumah tangga yang sampai saat ini belum diakui sebagai pekerja. Kemudian juga buruh rumahan yang tempat kerjanya adalah juga rumahnya. Kemudian juga pekerja toko dengan situasi kerja atau sistem kontrak yang sangat fleksibel. Kemudian pekerja sektor industri kreatif yang kelihatan mentereng gitu ya, bahasanya apa ya, mentereng, yang kelihatan sangat-sangat asik gitu ya, tapi sebenarnya mereka secara kondisi kerja itu sangat rentan. Kemudian juga perempuan yang bekerja di sektor perkebunan sawit. Dan di saat pandemi ini mayoritas perempuan kehilangan pekerjaannya, menurun penghasilannya, dan jaminan pekerjaan itu pun tidak ada. Yang kedua adalah selain berada dalam situasi pekerjaan yang rentan pelanggaran hak, perempuan juga masih harus dibebani dengan konstruksi gender saat ini gitu ya, pekerjaan-pekerjaan rumah yang seperti yang pasti sudah sangat familiar ya, perawatan rumah, perawatan anak, perawatan orang tua, yang mana bebannya sendiri itu meningkat di masa COVID. Karena semua keluarga harus berada di rumah. Jadi banyak cerita dari para ibu pekerja yang kemudian mereka juga harus berlatih, harus sigap sedia untuk menjadi guru bagi anak-anaknya selama masa pandemi. Dan semua pekerjaan itu sekali lagi tidak diupah. Pekerjaan-pekerjaan domestik yang dilakukan oleh perempuan itu tidak diupah. Kemudian yang ketiga adalah perempuan harus juga menghadapi situasi kekerasan. Baik kekerasan di tempat kerja maupun di rumah. Banyak data yang memperlihatkan hal ini ya. Salah satunya adalah dari Komnas Perempuan yang kemarin tanggal 5 Maret juga baru saja melaunching hasil catatan tahunan tahun 2020 yang konteksnya adalah pandemi COVID. Dan angka kekerasan dalam rumah tangga itu adalah salah satu angka yang dalam 3 bulan saja laporannya itu hampir sama dengan laporan tahun 2019. Kemudian pertanyaan yang ketiga adalah apakah kesetaraan itu benar-benar sudah dicapai? Jika tidak, bagaimana, kenapa, dan apa yang bisa dilakukan? Terkait dengan ini, sebenarnya menurut saya adalah pertanyaan yang cukup sulit ya. Karena setiap zaman atau setiap perjuangan kesetaraan itu akan memiliki konteks yang sangat dekat dengan struktur kekuasaan politik pada waktu itu. Misalnya saja saat ini kita sedang memperingati Hari Perempuan Internasional. Jika kita melihat sejarah Hari Perempuan Internasional, perjuangan kesetaraan itu berfokus pada kesetaraan di dalam hal upah, di dalam dunia kerja, dan juga representasi dalam pemilihan umum. Hasil-hasil yang bisa kita lihat dan sebenarnya juga berpengaruh besar terhadap perubahan dunia hingga saat ini adalah seperti bagaimana perjuangan jam kerja menjadi 8 jam. Jadi kalau misalnya saat ini di dalam Undang-Undang Ketenagakerjaan kita, walaupun sudah ada Omnibus Law Cipta Kerja ya, tapi Undang-Undang Ketenagakerjaan juga masih dipakai dan ketentuan jam kerja kita adalah 8 jam kerja. Sehingga ketika ada pekerjaan di luar 8 jam kerja itu bisa dihitung lembur. Nah, ini yang berbeda dalam konteks Hari Perempuan Internasional, dalam konteks 100 tahun yang lalu sejarah Hari Perempuan Internasional, di mana jam kerja perempuan bisa sangat panjang, 12-16 jam, dalam kondisi yang tidak manusiawi dan juga dengan upah yang tidak layak. Nah, ini yang kemudian juga berkait kelindan dengan perjuangan politik untuk hak pilih perempuan di dalam pemilu, atau yang familiar kita lihat sebagai suffragette, gerakan suffragette. Nah, ini adalah sebuah capaian dan ini patut dipertahankan karena sebuah capaian tidak selalu atau tidak selamanya menjadi capaian gitu. Pada zaman-zaman selanjutnya dia akan menghadapi tantangan-tantangan seperti misalnya untuk situasi 8 jam kerja ini, ketika kita balik lagi ke dalam sektor-sektor yang tadi saya sebutkan, itu juga batasan-batasannya sangat blur, sangat sulit begitu untuk diterapkan kebijakan yang 8 jam kerja. Kemudian terkait dengan pencapaian politik, adanya hak pilih perempuan di dalam pemilu, karena sebelumnya perempuan tidak dianggap sebagai manusia, maka di dalam pemilu dia pun diwakilkan, suaranya diwakilkan oleh kepala rumah tangga, yaitu laki-laki. Tapi kemudian perempuan memiliki hak pilih dalam pemilu, walaupun ini tidak spesifik konteks Indonesia, tapi ini adalah bagian dari sejarah gerakan perempuan di dunia. Nah, sekarang setiap perempuan memiliki hak pilih di dalam pemilu. Nah, apakah itu sudah menjamin kesetaraan perempuan? Tentu saja tidak. Banyak hal yang perlu kita diskusikan bagaimana kemudian hak pilih ini memang kemudian mewakili agenda-agenda perubahan yang tadi kita bicarakan di atas. Nah, kemudian pertanyaan keberapa ini? Keempat kalau tidak salah, adalah bagaimana kemudian peran dari perempuan muda dalam mewujudkan apa yang mereka aspirasikan gitu ya. Ketika kita bicara soal perempuan muda, pertama dalam konteks dunia kerja tadi itu juga adalah perempuan muda. Saat ini ketika kita ketika kita bicara soal buruh migran, pekerja garmen, kemudian juga pekerja di sektor industri kreatif, itu banyak sekali perempuan-perempuan muda di dalamnya. Dan pada hari ini, pada pergerakan perempuan hari ini, perempuan muda saya pikir memiliki andil yang sangat besar. Bahkan bisa dibilang dalam setiap pergerakan perempuan, maka perempuan muda lah penggeraknya. Dan dalam konteks saat ini, ketika kita memasuki era abad ke-21, dunia teknologi, industri 4.0, maka tidak bisa tidak kita perlu meletakkan bagaimana konteks dunia digital, dunia media sosial. Dan terdapat banyak sekali perkembangan. 10 tahun yang lalu, ketika saya masih mahasiswa, ya, jadi kelihatan ini, ketika saya mengajukan sebuah agenda untuk sekolah feminis dengan dosen saya, waktu itu saya jurusan hubungan internasional, bukannya tidak sepakat, tapi dosen saya sempat menganjurkan untuk kenapa nggak pakai sekolah gender saja. Jadi not feminist but gender. Waktu itu ada sebuah rasa takut untuk bicara tentang feminis, bahkan menyampaikan istilah feminis itu sendiri secara publik, secara terbuka. Masih identik dengan kalau feminis itu berarti perempuan nggak tahu diri, perempuan binal dan segala macam stigma ya terhadap feminisme. Nah, tapi pada hari ini kita sangat mudah sekali gitu bertemu dengan, kalau di sosial media itu banyak sekali kolektif feminis yang muncul. Kemudian juga isu-isu feminis yang berkembang, yang dibicarakan begitu ya. Walaupun saya lihat juga masih sangat penting untuk mendiskusikan apa makna sebenarnya dari feminisme, tapi secara istilah itu sangat luas dibicarakan gitu. Jadi orang udah nggak takut lagi gitu. Dan saya pikir ini adalah peran dari anak-anak muda yang hidup dalam dunia sosmed, kemudian juga menyampaikan apa-apa pikiran-pikiran mereka, karena sosmed adalah milik kita gitu ya. Jadi setiap pendapat pun bisa disampaikan secara langsung gitu. Dan hal ini di satu sisi kemudian memberikan pengaruh untuk men-challenge, untuk menantang hal-hal yang masih dianggap tabu. Misalnya di dalam pergerakan Me Too, itu pergerakan yang viral di dalam dunia media sosial dan kemudian mendorong orang untuk tidak tabu lagi berbicara tentang isu-isu pelecehan seksual, tentang pengalaman yang terjadi pada dirinya. Setiap orang merasa bahwa dirinya tidak sendiri, sehingga dia merasa aman untuk menyampaikan pengalaman tersebut. Dan juga berpengaruh kuat ya, bagaimana kemudian narasi bahwa pengalaman perempuan itu valid gitu ya, bisa mendapatkan perempuan tuh pelecehan seksual tuh bukan perasaan perempuan saja, bukan hal yang subjektif kemudian itu karena dia gitu, enggak. Nah, itu didobrak oleh Me Too movement. Kemudian yang kedua adalah sex education awareness. Jadi banyak sekali saya sendiri kadang suka gitu ya melihat info-info di sosial media, kemudian bagaimana anak-anak muda menjadi peer educator untuk sesama temennya gitu yang bicara soal sex education, tentang mens pertama, kemudian jangan tabu dengan darah mens lagi karena darah mens bukan darah kotor misalnya. Nah, itu wacana-wacana yang sangat aktif berkembang di dunia sosial media yang digerakkan oleh perempuan-perempuan muda. Kemudian juga diversity of gender expression and sexual orientation. Jadi ini juga pengalaman saya berteman dengan banyak sekali teman-teman LGBT, mereka juga merasa mendapatkan tempatnya di sosial media. Karena yang penting adalah tidak ada diskriminasi. Kita semua sama, kita sebagai manusia. Mau ada yang setuju atau nggak setuju, mari bersama berjalan di dalam perbedaan. Gitu. Tapi jangan sampai ada diskriminasi dan kekerasan. Nah, itu juga menjadi kampanye-kampanye positif di sosial media itu sendiri. Jadi, cara-cara baru dalam berjejaring, cara-cara baru dalam membangun solidaritas, saya pikir itu sangat lekat perannya dengan anak muda sekarang. Online movements yang kemudian baik kita bisa ngundang webinar seperti saat ini, kita bisa bertemu dengan kawan-kawan lintas negara yang kemudian menjadi sangat mudah ya dalam situasi saat ini gitu dengan pergerakan-pergerakan online. Kita bisa berdiskusi dengan latar belakang yang berbeda, kemudian juga kita bisa membuat seruan-seruan virtual, walaupun ini juga ada notion gitu ya bahwa seruan virtual tidak boleh berhenti di virtual saja, dia harus juga berbentuk menjadi sebuah aksi-aksi bersama, begitu. Jadi virtual ini adalah penopang untuk bagaimana kita meng-create atau merangkai sebuah pergerakan. Nah, jadi ini yang coba saya sampaikan terkait dengan bagaimana perubahan. Kemudian yang terakhir, ini pertanyaan yang menurut saya juga tidak bisa saya jawab sendiri, karena di atas itu adalah pandangan-pandangan yang saya lihat gitu ya, berbasis dari pengalaman di dalam membangun pergerakan, pengalaman bersama dengan teman-teman perempuan pekerja, dan ini yang penting kita diskusikan bersama. What are we fighting for really? Apa yang kemudian benar-benar butuh kita perjuangkan saat ini? Itu yang saya maknai dari pertanyaan ini. Jadi mari kita diskusikan bersama. Begitu presentasi dari saya kembalikan ke Ibu Susan. Terima kasih.
Okay, I think we can have the committee. Do we have the questions now or later? Because we still have 3 minutes. Maybe 3 minutes for a question from Mr. Danilo Pastor, FIDE. Thank you. We have it on the chat box. Let me, okay. So, what is the possible reason why in other parts of the world there is no gender equality? Does religion and culture have anything to do with it, so that until now women have not been given equal rights? Mungkin satu pertanyaan sampai di 10.30, Mbak Ika. Thank you.
Terima kasih, saya akan coba jawab dalam bahasa Inggris, tapi mohon maaf jika kurang lancar ya Ibu ya. So, I think that the main problem is not religion or culture. I think the main problem is the political power structure. And why in the other parts of the world, it's really clear when we see how the inequality is the term that we call the first country, the second country, the development country. I think it's still relevant nowadays, and why there is a division of that, because there is an equality. And inequality about what? About the political power structure. How the colonialization that I think still happen until right now. The method is different. We don't have we still have things like the World War now, right? In Middle East, there is war right now. In here, there is a lot of conflict, like a structural conflict. And I don't know, maybe we still on the same area, on the same page, but more technological, maybe. I think that's a reflective question that we would like to reflect to ourselves. But for me, my point is why there is why other parts of the world no gender equality, because of the inequality of the power structure. Thanks, Ms. Susan.
Yes. Does that answer your question, sir? Thank you. Okay, so we have come to the end of this session. We will have now a presentation from Dr. Nana. But then, if you still have question for Miss Ika, you are welcome to write in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Ika Mahardika.
Terima kasih, sama-sama Ibu Susan.
Dr. Nana?
Hi.
Yes. The floor is yours. Committee, minta tolong di highlightnya diganti, boleh?
Can I share my slide?
Yes.
Can everyone hear me clearly?
Oke, panitia sudah jadi co-host Dr. Nananya?
Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Can everyone see my slide? Can everyone see my slide?
Yes.
All right. Well, first of all, Sawadika from Thailand. Sawadika, everyone. Assalamualaikum as well. First thing first, I would like to say really appreciate and be honored to be part of this great platform and be representative of Thai women to voice out about, equality for women. It is a great topic. It is a great initiative that the organization really set this up. But earlier when I actually listened to your presentation, it's kind of get me nervous because everybody presenting really academically, and what I prepared was really not exactly like that. But what I can contribute is based on the as I am myself academia, and also myself as a woman and used to be a youth leader as well, and representing ASEAN Youth Organization before. So probably I can share my opinion and my thoughts, my knowledge as well, based on my profile. So let's have a look what I have for you guys. So first thing first, before I start with anything, always like to share a very sharp, strong quote from the a very well-known and famous that relevant to the topic that I'm going to present. Always I like to do that. But for this topic, definitely talking about the woman, then I actually gonna highlight with the Eleanor quote that really hit on me when I actually looking into her bunch of quotes, and this quote it's really hit on me. So she said about the woman are like a tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are in hot water. I'm sure you guys have a chat box there. If you do agree, just drop your bus there that you agree. If you don't, another bus with me like this is fine too. Probably we can have a look after my talk. Yeah. And another slide is a question for the audience, including the honored guests, everyone. If you agree with the statement of women are dependent on men. It's just gonna be hints for everyone for the talk that I actually appoint to talk about. It is something that we have to think about whether women are actually being programmed to feel depending on men or not. Is it right? Yeah. Are you agree or you not agree? Feel free to drop all in the chat box. It's gonna be fun to talk about later on. Because in my opinion, just a broad opinion for you before I actually look into your comments there, is that when it comes to the evolutions of the culture, yeah, the cultural has changed, but the traditions never change. From the past and to the past generation, is simply like, the people, try to be depending on each other, right? But now the world has changed. Freedom is there. Women getting more independent and all that. Don't know whether even we are in this independent world, women still being programmed to feel depending on men or have to rely on men, or even, okay, don't talk about men only, but maybe partner, okay? Because there always be a third genders now. So maybe I can just point out as men as a partner now, yeah, as a broad sense, whether we have to be really depending on them. So this is just open for everybody to have some thought, like some thinking throughout my talk. The rest of my talk will be something that I would like to share in terms of the equality for women, particularly in East Asia, particularly narrowed down to Thailand, to Thai women. Yeah, I feel really honored. It's like I'm actually talking, representing the whole Thai woman, like Miss Thailand or something like that. It's kind of dangerous to talk about it as well. It's too risky somehow because it's quite sensitive in this topic. But I try to make sure that everyone really can learn about the truth of being a Thai woman and in this world, in this pandemic world. Yeah. So without further ado, first slide, as everybody noticed that the SDG symbol is there. Always right now, many organizations, the whole wide world, they like to promote the sustainable development goals. They like to work towards the 17 goals, you know. Some of the context can be applied in certain goals only, but very interestingly, when I actually did teach the student in class about SDG, particularly about the gender equality, particularly talking about, you know, like not only the gender alone, but talking about the whole equality. Either you are disabled, you're poor, you're whatever, always have some sort of the overarching of the agendas inside the SDG. Each of the SDG, what I point out in this slide, it's just 1 to 6 of SDG related, try to get it promoting the women rights basically on each of the SDG. Very interesting because it's become really highly significant, very highly significant to have the insertions of promoting women's rights, equalities, or even the children as well. So at this slide 1 to 6, no poverty, zero hunger, good health, well-being, quality education, gender equality. Of course, the number 5 is always the spotlight because it's gender equality there. But other than that, we have clean water, sanitation, affordable clean energy, and so on. Excepting, if you look into this slide, we have the SDG number 5 for gender equality as a central. That is, for those who already know, you must see that it's actually, as this SDG number 5 has impact, influence the other SDGs too. That means, what does that mean? That either you are a woman or man, the equality, I don't talk about the woman equality alone. I talk about men. I talk about the disability and others too. They also have impact significantly throughout the other dimension. Okay, either environmental, either talking about the partnerships, talking about the urbanization, talking about infrastructures, is actually a central and have the significant impact throughout. What I try to point out here is that it's kind of a main factors of our life, of the human factors. The gender equality is something must be really pay attention on. Every organization who promote this SDG, they surely have to understand this. In each of the organization, whenever they have either men or women in their organization, when it comes to promoting, okay, when it comes to compensation, they definitely have to be mindful that there is no bias between genders, because you are actually holding the goal. You're actually holding the SDG goal in your organization. That's something kind of bind the organization to make sure it walk into these directions, which is, I think, which is a really good tool to keep everyone fighting for this equality. So with the question, earlier question from another speaker, there was one audience asking about whether the woman, what happened, why they were out there did not have support for women equality as much. I believe there are a lot of support actually. They're out there. There are a lot of support. But the speaker answered the right thing. There's always policy there, always structures, problem and conflict there, and always the culture that actually bind us, even make us, it's hard for us to really promoting what actually we've been setting up on. You know, although we have the umbrella of SDG, but in practice, it's not easy to do that, you know what I mean? But at least At least we have it as a guideline, at least we have it as a KPI, at least we have it as a direction. So which is good thing to have it. So, and the next thing is that if you look into the statistic here, I just sharing about the how the women equality in Asia Pacific here. This is the very recent from the McKinsey company that actually they did pretty good research on this. It cover every countries around the world, but specifically on certain country that have an outstanding cultural differences and also the characters differences. Of course, we always have India is there, China is there, Cambodia is there. All these talking about the countries that have a grown of the woman equality, a grown of the numbers of promoting women equality, and specifically in Thailand. As you can see, Thailand at the consider not bad, trying to promote, okay, trying to keep the practice growing, try to improve the gender equality there. The number is high. Yeah, it's high. It's really good. You can look in your own countries over there. Yeah, and then apparently when you look into
Yes, thank you.
the gender equality is this one, it just indicate that especially the Asia Pacific, it doesn't actually have a proper how to say, compare with other country, the percentage is actually still way back compared with others. Asia, in Asia Pacific, compared with other side of the world, we still way back a little. Yeah, as you can see from the color, the red color indicates really strong inequality happening in that country, and the green, it's considered that there's no such thing anymore, no such equality anymore. I live in Australia for 7 years when I was master degree until PhD, and I worked there as well before I come back to Thailand. It's so true that that Australia not only promoting the equity, okay, they also try to create a campaign. They keep on doing a campaign, multiple campaign about the underprivileged, about the gender issues, about the everything that they, everything whichever they try to do. They try to create campaign and promoting the equity for their community. So when we were there, when I was there, I was quite enjoy with my life there as well. Besides my PhD, quite enjoyable. When I was there as international student, as a woman, as a leader, as a youth leader there as well, I've been quite respect. Very treat even me, I'm just considered like nobody before. Yeah. But when we voice out anything, they do listen and respect. They do sort of giving out the opportunity to everyone to be who they are, to promoting every single one's talent. That is the country where you can actually really showing your talent freely, be yourself freely, whatever you want to be. In contrast, when come back to Thailand, I have a little bit of reverse culture shock here. When I want to raise my opinion here, I have to really mindful, because number one, I was just if you guys must know, I'm very short. I'm very short myself, and I just tiny little girl. But I want to voice out my concern, but I couldn't. I have to be careful what I say because of the stereotype of being a girl, a new girl in the community, or a stereotype of being myself. Yeah, I cannot really be myself. That's something that I was like having a little bit of reverse culture shock. So at this point, I also see in this the web page of the McKinsey indicate about the bottlenecks of the talent pipelines. At each of the country, as you can say, the woman kind of being well represent, represent themselves very well in Australia, as you can see. Yeah. And each of the country promoting pretty well, but don't have the percentage, don't have the statistic from Thailand as yet. But what I can actually show in the next slide is about women in Thailand, in the role and status, and a little bit of issues about the Thai woman. Usually for the Thai woman in Thailand, despite all what I said earlier about how women have to, being concerned, and in each of the organization now focusing on promoting equality. Yeah, but it is, to be honest, it is hard to say that Thai women really are treated equally in Thailand. From experience, from what I see from the journal, from the research as well, numbers of literatures found that there are the cultural barriers that have to be the overcome of this thing. There are the practice that has been from the old traditional time and brought up until today. But it's on the other side, Thai women always point, people perspective towards Thai women, always positive, yeah? Besides talking about other thing that I don't want to say this word, but Thai women always being portrayed as a hardworking woman, right? If you disagree, you can just drop your comment inside the chat box as well. Okay. And beside the hardworking woman, Thai women always have a great patience with all the obstacles and struggles that they are. Yeah. And they become quite dependent, right? Dependent on the peers, on the family. Not sure about other country from our neighbor country, but Thai women quite family oriented, very family oriented. Anything's go wrong, call mom, call dad. And although we are already strong women in the companies, I'm the CEO and everything, but still at the end of the day, we still call back our parents for consultations and all that. But yeah, that's something just to share about the characters of a Thai woman. But the problem with the Thai woman, with the gender role in everyday life in Thailand, it's something that what I can share, just a quick sharing about that, is that as we are like this sort of a mindset of being a Thai woman always being portrayed as very quite dependent on peers, families, or whatever. They still actually fight. Yeah, Thai women still keep fighting to be a successful career woman. As you must see that there are many leaders, women out there in Thailand, and in the organization, the top management now, yeah, you can see more of women than men. Don't have any statistical support or any literature support my comment here, but what I can say here is that what I can see from based on what I see, they are a woman being respect in their position. You know why? Because that's what it is. We have sort of equipped our knowledge, skills, and talents. We can actually show to the people that they're out there, prove to others that Thai women can do anything, yeah. Thai women can fight for ourselves, can fight for our success, Besides become a career woman, we also have to taking care of our family, You can be able to, because we can be able to look into our shelter, our basic needs in the family and everything, and this is not easy to handle, yeah, but we can balance. I myself have two children, very young, 2 years old and 5 months old, and a full-time working in the university. Monday to Sunday. Yeah, almost 24/7 with my phone as well. Beside that, I have to carry baby and feed them. So this sort of thing, but we still fight for. It's like we being programmed to be hardworking people.
Dr. Nana, I'm sorry. Hello, Dr. Nana.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's been an interesting presentation, but however, we're very limited with time. Is it okay? Now we have the question.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, we have here question from Pastor TJ in the chat box. Why is it that whenever we talk about gender equality, women are always in the forefront? Are women the only right to be concerned about gender equality? What about men, gay, and lesbian? So that's question number one.
Could you please speak a little bit louder? I couldn't hear it. Thank you.
Why is it that whenever we talk about gender equality, women are always in the forefront? Are women the only right to be concerned about gender equality? What about men, gay, and lesbian? Can you hear the question?
Okay. Pretty good question. As my presentation, my point was I actually did not really specify on the woman on the gender equality alone, because this is the concern is that right now we have gay and lesbian, and especially in Thailand, because everyone have a freedom to be who they are. So in terms of the equality here, at my point, I do think that we do not actually, when talking about gender equality, should not actually promoting only women. That's my point earlier. We have to look into every gender's rights as well. Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, good morning. My name is Safina from UKI. Dear Dr. Nana, I have a question for you. How do you explain to parents who still think about a husband as the only source of family finances? So money comes from the husband, even though a wife can also work and help family economy. How to explain to them that there is no term for late marriage for women who are enjoying their career? Because sometimes explaining to conservative parents is a challenge. I choose to challenge. Thank you.
Okay, many questions in at once. So the first one, how do I explain to parents who still think about a husband is only source, meaning like how do we explain to the parents, yeah, about the husband that who actually earn money for the family, yeah, like this. Into their world, we all have to have a job. Every single one of us must have a job. Although you have a husband, you must have your self income. Although but still, it doesn't mean we do not actually depending on our husband. We do still need to depending on husband if we are actually having one. Yeah. So I would just suggest you, when you explain to your parents that we somehow we do need our own income, at the same time we still need to depending on the husband because that's his responsibility. Yeah, that's probably one question. Not sure if I answered this question. And the second one is that married late. I have to ask back, married late, what age you think is late to be married? Because right now, everyone has their own timeline. But some people said, okay, 30 years old is okay, still okay for 30 years old. Some people like 25, you know what I mean? For me, I married at age of 30 years old. Yeah. Consider late for me, not late for parents, because parents still think that I have to be, but my parents think that I have to have independent of my own survival skills. You know, everything I have to be independent. So as soon as I am independent, then only I can get married, because that's how they want me to, you know, to plan my life. Okay, so that's my answer. Hopefully.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Miss Dr. Nana, you can also maybe look at the comments in the chat box. There is still more. However, our time is up, so I have to end this session. So this session also proves that the fight is still worth fighting for. There are still problems even in Thailand, as already presented by Dr. Nana. There are many countries in which we can conclude that we still have to fight for the equality. And Miss Ika talk about the collective action that we may take to make this situation a better condition. So I think this event is also a way for us to do some collective action. So in making young minds have new information or something to think about regarding the situation. Okay, without further ado, I will end this session and thank you so much for participating. Thank you also for the two speakers. Thank you. Going back to MC.
Prince Songkhla University, Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the third session. We will have two speakers from ASEAN Youth Organization. This session will be moderated by Ms. Rosusena. Ms. Rosusena graduated from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She majored in English Literature, Faculty of Letters and Languages. Rosusena works at Languages Service Center, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. In 2016, she was chosen to be second president or spokeswoman, and in 2017 to be first president or spokeswoman of the Project Masa Depan group supported by German-speaking Women's Association Die Brücke. She has also actively contributed to social activities in 2016 till 2019 through that foundation. Ms. Rosusena, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the explanations. Is my voice audible? Okay. As it has been mentioned earlier that in this third sessions, we have two speakers. First, we have Mr. Abhishek Vats from India, and we also have Ms. Sother Yu from Cambodia. So I think I will start with giving a little bit explanations about them. The first one, we have Mr. Abhishek Vats. He is a law student from Delhi, India. He has a keen interest in human rights and international relations, particularly in the field of gender and governance. Mr. Vats has also published papers on issues like legalization of prostitution and how collective security measures like economic sanctions affect the status of women and children in targeted nations. Mr. Abhishek is also a humanitarian and ambitious law student who has worked or interned with organizations like Child Right Protection Commissions, both state level and national, back in India. And he has also interned with Asian African Legal Consultancy Organization as a research associate. He also actively volunteers with domestic and international organizations, and he is currently the country director of ASEAN Youth Organization India Network. And Mr. Vats is here to provide a contemporary youth-centric outlook on women empowerment and its relevance in Asia on behalf of Asian youth organizations. And our second speaker, we have Ms. Sother Yu. She is the founder of Next Women Generations. She has more than 8 years of experience working on gender and development in Cambodia. She is the highly commended finalist of the Women of Future Awards Southeast Asia 2020. And Ms. Sother is also a researcher. Her previous publications include Women's Unsafe Mobility in the Public Transport in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, Guarantee of Non-Recurrent of Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Against Women After the Khmer Rouge, and also Protections in Cambodia in 2040, Economic Development. She holds the Master International of Development Policy from Duke University, United States of America. Okay, so in these third sessions, we have 30 minutes 30 minutes presentations. Each will get 15 minutes. I think we will start with our first speaker, Mr. Abhishek Vats. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So I would like to ask the permission to share my screen first as I proceed with my slide. Is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Is it now?
Okay. Yes.
So much, ma'am. So namaste and warm greetings to everyone joining in from different parts of the world. Before I begin, I would like to extend my gratitude to Yuki and also to all the esteemed fellow speakers who joined us today for the panel. And thank you so much for sharing their insightful presentations. I am Abhishek and I'm humbled to represent ASEAN Youth Organization today and share my insights on gender equality. All right. So before we begin, I would like to share a little about AYO and women empowerment. More than 60% of our members are women, and we are working towards impacting 10 million lives by 2025. AYO is also one of the biggest youth organizations across ASEAN nations with 10 chapters and 5+ networks. We are developing programs across Asia to promote youth empowerment, economic enhancement, and social volunteerism. And our goal is always to work for the youth and by the youth. All right. Now, coming back to gender equality, late Sir Honorable Kofi Annan, sir, who was the 7th Secretary General of the UN, has mentioned that gender equality is more than a goal itself. What Sir has highlighted that gender equality in itself is a form of precondition that you need to achieve gender equality so you can reduce poverty, so that you can promote sustainable development. And also, we cannot neglect the fact that women and men both are responsible for building good governance. Now let's understand what is gender equality. As per the UN's glossary of terms, which was published in November 2017, I think it was published by UNESCO, they have mentioned the meaning of gender equality, where they've highlighted that when we talk about gender equality, it revolves around the fact that men, women, boys, and girls, all of them should have equal conditions and treatments in forms of opportunity. When we talk about these opportunities, we want to highlight the fact that they're able to realize their full potentials as human beings, which includes basic sanitation, education, nutrition, etc. At the same time, they should have access to their human rights. When we talk about human rights, we're also talking about right to self-determination. We are talking about the right to involve themselves in the social, economic, and political societies that exist around them. And definitely, they should have a life worth living, a life full of dignity. Coming forward to gender equality and COVID, as Dr. Nana has already covered most of it, I would still like to share the statistics here. So the statistics have been taken from a report that was published by UN Women in 2020. So the major highlights of the statistics would be that around 243 million women and girls are subjected to physical and sexual form of violence by an intimate partner only in the last year. At the same time, globally, women have a 27% higher risk of falling into severe food insecurity, thus highlighting the fact that women are often subjected to malnutrition. And we should not forget the fact that women are also responsible for bearing children. Thus, their nutrition is of utmost importance. Following further on the statistics, we see that almost 11 million girls are at a risk of not returning to school. These are obviously projections made by UN Women based on the COVID-19 situations across the world. However, these 11 million girls that have been, let's say, predicted by the UN Women to not go back to schools only happen to be from pre-primary grade. Coming to the next slide, there's also more statistics here, which focuses on gender poverty gaps. They have mentioned, this is another report by UN Women, where they've mentioned that gender poverty gaps will worsen by 2030. They have taken the recent data and they have made projections for 2030 being the year that we are expected to achieve a sustainable development goals. The slide on the left shows the rise in gender gap and the impact of COVID, how the impact of COVID is increasing poverty in all the countries across the world, right? I am just briefly brushing over these statistics because they've already been covered, because I want to give more time to the next part of my presentation. All right, now let's discuss the crucial issues which are related to women in Asia. The question is, are women really empowered? Today, we are a part of this discussion. We are asking ourselves, is women is gender equality, women empowerment, are these things still worth fighting for? And if you guys have any questions, please feel to write them in the chat box. I'll just go through them. All right, so these are the broad issues that I could find out with regards to women in Asia Pacific. First is, women in Asia lack representation. Women lack representation in the field of study and research as samples or even otherwise, particularly sociological and scientific research. A similar case can be made for offices, which could be political, economic, or opportunities in organized sectors. We know that very often women are held back from participating in the society. It could be because of social-religious considerations, or because of their lack of education or their reclusion from the society. Now, when women are not being, women are not taking part in, let's say, in the field of research and study, like they are not being studied, as in when we talk about samples, that there is a lack of research, particularly on women. And at the same time, we also see that there are not a lot of women who are actively working in the field of research. Right. So what are the impacts of such considerations? I believe that since women recluse from such things, or they're not allowed to participate, women issues and anatomy is not well understood. Lack of women's involvement in research and study also takes away from normalizing a lot of physical and mental health issues that they might face. At the same time, since women do not have access to offices, they are not able to legislate with a gender-sensitive mindset. This means that when women are not given opportunity to create the laws for themselves, whatever laws that already exist in the world are always insufficient or shorthand to protect their rights, right? For example, when we talk about the movement that was started in Poland over their right for abortion, we noticed that women were not, their vote was not considered. Similar situation came up in the US when a bill on abortion was being passed, and I think there was a photo which mentioned that there was no women there. I don't know how much of that is true, but we do know that women are always held back from, legislating on important decisions. Now let's talk about women in Asia. They also lack personal autonomy and freedom due to social religious constructs. Now, we know that women are subjected to a variety of evils because of the patriarchal norms and social religious constructs. Women therefore live their life without any actual freedom over economic resources, their nutrition, and their reproductive health. Coming on to the impact that this has on them. Women remain indoors. They do not get opportunities to participate in the societal activities or decision-making. Women remain subjected to social evil like domestic violence, child marriage, sexual and mental harassment. Now, very often we know that once women are married off, they are considered to be a prerogative or responsibility of their husband. This sort of promotes a mentality of dependence that, women, like before marriage, she has to be dependent on her father. After her marriage, she has to be dependent on her husband. And that, they should remain indoor, they should provide domestic help, which is like unpaid domestic care, which is also a big issue that UN Women was looking into with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic, where they've mentioned in their statistics that women spend 3 times the hour that a man puts in a day in unpaid domestic care work. So that means that their energy and resources are being utilized. They have the potential, they have the know-how, but we are not letting them come to the forefront. Now, at the same time, rural women in Asia remain uneducated. Obviously, that is a very, very big problem, because education is really crucial in building your human resources, in building your personality. Now, since you're not educated in today's competitive world, you won't be able to participate in a lot of things. Now, when we talk about education, while, today there are different forms of education that one has to, get hold of. First of all, your basic education, which makes you a literate person. Your legal education or your legal literacy, which is important for you to know, to enforce your rights, because obviously all the governments across the world have some benefits, social legal benefits that they provide in forms of schemes, or you could also have, let's say, certain legal rights. You have some constitutional rights that your constitution as fundamental rights guarantees. But if you're not aware of those, if you remain unaware of the legal system, you would never be able to get yourself a remedy. Now, the third form of literacy that we know exists today is the technological or digital literacy. Now, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, all of us know how we are connecting today. We are connecting virtually, right? So while all of us are fortunate enough to know how to access these platforms, and I'm so happy to see that there's women across the globe joining us today, but that is not the case for everyone, right? Digital literacy is definitely something that a lot of people are suffering. All these things, if they are not provided to a person, take away from them accessing certain opportunities of getting out from the cycle of poverty. Now, the impact of uneducation obviously remains that women remain in poverty. They're incessantly dependent on the men in their family or their household. They do not have access to justice, social, legal, both. Lack of education to generations of ignorant women, citizens who are unable to protect their interests. So now what happens is that since women are not educated, they could be considered as ignorant citizens. Now, when we talk about ignorant citizens, we notice that they would not be of much help to the society in terms of staying vigilant, let's say stopping the crime or enforcing their remedies and rights, etc. And thus, ignorant women who remain uneducated would not be able to protect their interests. So definitely, we should be promoting women education. Now, let's come to the social violence which women often face, like human trafficking, rape, with women refugee being at the highest.
Mr. Abhishek, sorry for interrupting. You have 3 minutes left to give your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So where women refugees are highly vulnerable when it comes to rapes, right? Because refugees are living in makeshift houses. We do not know, they do not have any form of state security. So definitely the, fear of heightened violence, physical violence is great amongst refugee women. At the same time, since women are in incessant poverty, they're often abandoned by their husbands and they have to, take care of their children. They are also the easiest target for organ trading or organ trafficking, which is really popular in Nepal. All right. At the same time, uneducated women are, let's say, they're taken for granted in terms of using them for surrogacy, because very often what happens, since we do not have a uniform law on international surrogacy yet, that these poor women, they are impregnated artificially, and then the kids are taken away from them. They are not duly compensated. They resort to surrogacy as a form of business because they are not able to sustain themselves. So also their rights and their reproductive rights, etc., are violated there as well. Although the world is divided on whether surrogacy is noble or not, we'll not get into that. But we have to acknowledge where the problem lies. At the same time, since we're talking about a form of social violence against women, I would like to point out that very often what happens is in one region of India, Punjab, that people who are living abroad, the NRIs, they come here, they marry women here, and since there is this rampant practice of dowry here, although law outlaws it clearly, dowry being a crime, very often we notice that they have forms of mock marriages with these women. They take the dowry and then they go back to their country. And since women are not really aware about how international law works in this regard, they are not able to enforce their rights. Now, we are going to come to a situation where so this is a fictitious story. I mean, the characters are fictitious here. However, I have taken this story from the real forms of violence that I have read about, right? So there's a 9-year-old girl, her name is Tammy, and she comes back from school one day and finds out that, she's getting married within a week, and that to a 39-year-old man. So she's getting married to such an old person because her family feels that he has some cattle to spare. And, Tammy is a resident of a developing country, and child marriage is a crime there. Now, Tammy does not want to get married. She wants to study and support her family. She wants to become a teacher so she can educate more little girls. But her parents think that getting her married off is the right thing to do. So, surprise, surprise, Tammy gets married. Now, my question to you is, why do you think Tammy's family agreed?
Mr. Abhishek, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Your time is up. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Right.
Okay.
Just 2 minutes to wind up.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So please make sure that you take this PPT from the university, because I have added some very interesting links for you to find out. Particularly, coming to this part, there are some videos that you must watch. They will highlight, the forms of gender violence that exist in the world. And I think we should be supporting independent journalism, so we are able to get, good and empirical form of research. At the same time, this is the last thing I just want to reinforce. How can you contribute to gender equality? First, make sure you're volunteering with NGOs and development sector, because that will provide you empirical knowledge. At the same time, support independent journalism. Please watch those videos. Thirdly, legal literacy and education are really important to ensure that people can enforce their rights. Try and kickstart a form of gender cell or student grievance cell in your college or your university, so all of you can come together and address those issues on your own, so you can be self-sufficient and an activist for gender equality. And lastly, try and use gender-sensitive pronouns to make gender-diverse people feel accepted, because there are new forms of gender expression today, and we should be respectful towards everyone. Thank you so much. And this is the bibliography. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. This is it on my part.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. That's very interesting and awesome presentations. If you guys have some questions to Mr. Abhishek, you can please comment on the chat box. You can share your questions to him. Now we have to continue to our next speaker, Miss Sotriyu. Are you with us? Okay.
Yes, I'm with you guys.
Sotriyu, yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, I will share my presentation. Did you get my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hello everyone. Hope you enjoy the presentations. And if you sit there for almost entire morning, so I am the last presenter. So hopefully you will enjoy these presentations. And I think the information that you receive the entire morning is quite overwhelmed, and that probably speaker would repeatedly share the information. I just because some of the information that I will present are already covered by the previous speaker, some of them, but I think that I want to remind all of you is that if that information that we put in the slide presentations and presents to you, that probably this is really important, that need your attention to look at that issue, that probably within the family or community and society in the country as a whole. And this is I'll go through that really quickly. The snapshot of ASEAN populations. If you look at if you look at this, and you can see that ASEAN has more than 600 million populations, and we have more than half of the populations were below 30 years old. So we are quite young population in Southeast Asia, and almost 50% of the population live in urban area. And if you look at another chart on another side of the right side of the presentation, and you can see that we have quite a lot female populations is half or more than half of the ASEAN populations in general. And this is a statistic that you can see in each country. I take it from Status that you can, if you would like to have access more information and to go to more in-depth of the report, you can just click to the link that I put in on the slide. In the slide presentations and on the reference as well. And this is just a snapshot of the Gender Inequality Index. This is I take this from the Human Development Index in 2020. Actually, this index was published in 2020, but cover the event and what happened in 2019. And if we look at the GII, Gender Inequality Index by countries, and we see that in Southeast Asia, the prevalence of gender inequality or the incidence of gender inequality, if you prefer to call it in that way, still quite high. If you look at Cambodia, the statistic, we positions at 117 out of 162. And Indonesia positions at 121 out of 162, and only Singapore is doing better, I think, in all indicator, not just only Gender Inequality Index, but Human Development Report, Human Development Index, Gender Development Index, and other index as well. And Brunei and Vietnam and Malaysia are doing better in terms of gender, bridging the gender inequality gap in their country. And if you look at the women participations, I try to, if you look at the percentage of women, percentage shares of women in the parliament in each country, and you can see that it ranked from 9.1% to 26% or 27, almost 28% in the Philippines. So women are still less represented in the parliament at the policy level, at the decision-making level. And if you look at this is because gender equality, when we talk about gender equality, that a lot of things to cover, but I just want to give a brief snapshots, and I'm sure that you consume a lot of information from the previous speaker already in terms of how many women in the different women in different sector, different field, for instance, gender inequality in the labor market and so on. I just want to highlight a snapshot on gender inequality. This is the report on ASEAN on violence against women. And if you look at the map in here that presents the data, this is the data, I think it from 2003 or 2007 to 2017 from ASEAN Secretariat. This is incorporated in corporations with the UN agency to produce this report. So the proportions of women who experience intimate partner, physical or sexual violence, this is in women's lifetime. If you go in that to the report, they have in the past 12 months as well. But I put in here the picture in here that is in women's lifetime ranks from 6.1% in Singapore to 44% in Thailand. And women and girls in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN, also at risk of physical or sexual harassment or violence by non-partners as well. And this is the impact of COVID-19 on women. So you can read further report. This is the report from the UNESCAP that I got it and other UN agency report from ILO and UN Women and so on. And you can click more again, information on the background. And during the COVID-19, women experience a lot of gender inequality, such as wage, unpaid work, domestic violence or sexual harassment or violence against women in public places, underrepresentations at the decision-making level, financial inclusions, etc. Before the COVID-19, this is the situations in Southeast Asia. But during the COVID-19, women exposed to higher level of domestic violence. This is that happens a study from the UN agency on that issue. And then widen the economic insecurity of women, and increase unpaid care and domestic work, and increase vulnerability for marginalized women, and expose women to emotional issue. And women are already underrepresented at the decision-making level. This is the concerns that the COVID-19 economic recovery or development plan after the COVID-19 would not take strategic or practical needs of women into consideration. And this is, so women in Southeast Asia tend to be employed in the garment manufacturing, in the tourism industry, in the constructions and real estate sector. And this sector have been affected by the COVID-19. So women also have been affected by the COVID-19, by this industry with the job loss. In Cambodia, for example, by mid-2020, we have around 400 factories have been expanded or closed, affected more than 200,000 women factory workers. If we look at this, the impact, the proportions of this statistic, I take it from UN Women, that you can click and you can get the UN Women collect the data from in this Asia Pacific, and I take only 2 examples from Thailand and the Philippines because they put random countries in there. The country that I can get information in ASEAN is Thailand, the Philippines, and Cambodia. And I want to show the statistic from Thailand and the Philippines. So based on this, and we can see that so people, women, both men and women, reported that they increased their unpaid care and domestic work since the spread of the COVID-19. But if we look at in Thailand, we see that women, more women reported that they have they increased the times on unpaid care and domestic work than men. And if you look at in the Philippines, it's quite similar, but it's still so people agree that during the time of COVID-19 they spend more time on unpaid work. And unpaid work is one of the critical challenges for in the field of gender equality, to promote the equality of women and men, because most time in all ASEAN countries, so women are responsible for unpaid care, such as take care of children, take care of do cooking, cleaning, and so on, that consume that they do not in or their professional proportion reported that their mental or if you look at in Thailand, and you can see that more women than men reported that they experience that mental health or emotional health affected by the COVID-19, and that has also happened in the Philippines. And this is the impact of COVID-19 on marginalized women. So this is from the ILO report as well. So I take from the migrant workers because in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia, for example, we send women to work, we send our workers to work outside of Cambodia. So the migrant worker, Cambodian migrant worker, we have around 1.25 million workers who work outside of Cambodia, and this COVID-19 exacerbates the low coverage of social protection faced by marginalized women. So women who are migrant or domestic worker or work in the informal sector, mostly they do not receive a proper working conditions and access social protection mechanism, and the COVID-19 just make it worse for this worker. And for migrant workers that work in the who perform domestic work outside of their own country during the lockdown. So before the lockdown, those workers, there's a number of reports of research in the regions that have found that this worker experience abuse and violence from their employer, and then during the lockdowns, the lockdown increased the isolations and make it harder for them to leave the situations of the workplace violence or workplace.
Sorry for interrupting. Your time is left 3 minutes.
That's okay. I have only one more slide left. Thank you so much for reminding. For the future, for the migrant worker who return home during the COVID-19, so they are vulnerable to violence and harassment on their journeys back home and in quarantine facility. And the vulnerable women worker also face challenges in terms of accessing accurate information about COVID-19 and personal protective equipment. You can look at that information later on in the reference that provide you a snapshots of what really happens in Southeast Asia and the impacts of COVID-19 on women. And this is, you just look at it by yourself. This is the response that Southeast Asian nations has implemented previously to address the economic shocks and the burdens of the challenge faced by the people during the COVID-19. So all of the country administer the cash payments or grants to the vulnerable people, and if you see some of the advanced economy, such as Singapore, have the tax reduction or tax rebates program that you can look at that. And some country they just have different type of support to the people affected by COVID-19. So that's it, my presentations.
Thank you. It was such a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Ms. Sautri. So we have got two speakers deliver their presentations. First, we got Mr. Abhishek. He's here about introductions about Asian youth organizations, also about women empowerment and gender inequality that show that women in Asia basically lack of representations and also lack of personal autonomy and freedom. And basically, women in Asia is also uneducated and also experience social violence. And from Ms. Sautri, she talked about gender inequality also in Asian countries. Sorry. Hello. Sorry. Okay. So we have got two speakers deliver their presentations. First, we got Mr. Abhishek. He shared about introductions about Asian Youth Organization and also women empowerment, and especially about gender inequality in Asia. Women in Asia actually experience women in Asia is actually a lack of representation and also personal autonomy and lack of freedom also. And women in Asia are also uneducated and experience social violence. And from Ms. Sothari, she talked about gender inequality in Asian countries also, and shows that women also experience social violence, and also talk about women's and how women actually impacted because of the COVID-19. Okay, now we move on into the question and answer sessions. We actually have questions from Mr. Danilo Pastorfide to Mr. Abhishek. Maybe I will read the questions again. Okay. The questions, wait, sorry. If you were given the opportunity to make a law of your country, what law would it be that could be added to the laws you already have that would provide a solution to the problem of gender equality? Okay. Mr. Abhishek, you can answer the questions. Yeah.
All right. So I've already answered that in the chat box, but I would like to take the liberty to explain it a little. All right. So I suggested that we should pass a uniform civil code law because, basically when we talk about a uniform civil code, all the distinction which exists in our civil laws, because many religions get married based on their religious activities, like we have Hindu marriage, we have Muslim marriage, we have Christian marriage, etc. That at the same time, Muslim law, Hindu law, both of these prevalent religions, which particularly in my country, have their own rights and laws to dispose of their property or succession to property, etc. So this causes a lot of dispute. To that regard, where if so Hinduism does not allow a man to have more than one wife, but what people do is, since India is a secular country, they just change their religion to avoid committing the crime of bigamy by law. So they change their religion, become a Muslim, and then they commit the crime of bigamy. So to take away these disparities and to make sure that women are empowered in each and every religion, that the rights of women to succession, to property, and obviously of divorce and maintenance are prevailing across the country, a uniform civil code is important. The next legislation that I would like to pass would obviously to empower transgender and gender diverse person to protect their fundamental rights. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the answer, Ms. Abhishek. I really encourage the participant to also ask more the questions for our speakers here. If there's not yet questions for our speaker, I would like to ask personal as a I would like to ask to first Mr. Abhishek. I actually read a statement from a man in Instagram which said that when we're talking about gender equality, we must remember to position ourselves, men and women, as ally. And there's a statement said that we don't take the mic from women, but we provide the mic for them. I want to know what is your perspective about that statement?
Right. So I would like to highlight, Miss Emma Watson, who's an actress, has also said something similar like this. She has mentioned that, women empowerment is not a fight between men and women, or, it's not a fight just for women. We are trying to empower both of them. Now, what we need to realize is that very often how people construe the, funda of feminism is that they think, since we are outright talking about women empowerment, since we are being vocal for women empowerment, we are neglecting men. Very often, an answer to where women says that, okay, I have been physically harassed. Men say, oh, but men get harassed too. But we are not denying that. We are just voicing a concern. We are trying to point out that women, tend to be subjected to greater forms of violence. The frequency is high. And very often we notice that, like feminism in today's world is not just a moment for men or women. It's about creating equality for everyone, based on their, different gender diverse expression as well. So basically, yes, we are providing opportunities to women to be heard in a fight for women empowerment today. We are not taking away from what men have or what they represent or stand for. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I actually have a questions for Ms. Sotri. Actually, there's a lot of interesting topic to discuss, especially about women empowerment. And I actually been curious about your women generations. Actually, how do you start the movement? Can you share about that?
Yeah, thank you so much for go through Next Women Generations. I started Next Women Generation because in Cambodia I grew up in a place where I couldn't find a role model that who I can look up to if I face challenges or women role models. So I decided to start that project to highlight the leadership and initiatives of young women. And that project initially started in Cambodia. And then during the COVID-19, I spread it, so expanded the project to the regions and other areas of the world. And now I have people from Latin America, from Europe, from Africa, and from Asia to share their story on how they take initiative to promote sustainable development and gender equality in their community, and what challenges they face, and what message that they want to the global leaders and the leader in their country to hear. So this is how I started the project, and this project is a self-funded project. So I use my own times and personal budget to finance this project outside of my professional work that I am a researcher. So I do a consultancy with a national organization and UN agency in Cambodia. So when I have time Saturday and Sunday, or sometime 15 minutes or 1 hour at night, so I work on this project.
Thank you. I think it's very inspirational that even you, for the budget, you spend from yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
For the movement, yeah.
And I have seen not just only me, actually, I have seen some women in Southeast Asia as well. The people started to, especially young people, started to see that gender norms in their community isn't something that they want to uphold, or something that they think they want to bring the topic to discuss and talk. And I see the movement of in Thailand as well, and in other countries in Southeast Asia as well.
It's really great. Thank you, Ms. Sotri, for the explanations. I think as we are running out of time, I think we have an interesting discussions in these third sessions. And if I can conclude that from both Mr. Abhishek and Ms. Sotri agree actually about the equality for women is still worth fighting for, as it is part of human rights that we have to fight for, and for the shake as men and women are actually positioned as ally. So I think both men and men can together make a better chance for the world. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for the presentations and the discussions. I think we can go back to the MC.
Thank you very much for the moderator and the speakers from ASEAN Youth Organization. Now, we would like to invite all participants to open the camera. We would like to do the photo session together. Please open the camera. Please raise your hand like this. All right. So we would like to take a picture in 3, 2, 1. Three, two, one. 3, 2, 1. Once again, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everyone. Finally, we come to the end of this event. We would like to invite Ms. Susilawati to lead us in the closing prayer. Ms. Susilawati, the floor is yours.
So I'll lead us in prayer. Let's pray. Thank God for blessing all session on our event today. Thank you for still giving us a chance to get a lot new things today. Now uh, we will do our next activity. Please bless us in the name of Jesus. We prayed. Amen. Thank you.
Susilawati for the help on the closing prayer. Excellencies, distinguished guests, presenters, participants, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining and supporting this webinar, which roughly means, please forgive us for our shortcomings. We wish you an enjoyable and fruitful webinar. Thank you very much. International Women's Day. Choose the challenge.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.